Fly in camp or fly in and get a hotel in there?
Sedona, we stayed at the lodge.
Yeah.
I thought about flying to connect. Just for a week.
Yeah.
Sedona was a long weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to drive.
Right here.
Okay. She's fine.
I don't know if Diane's coming on site.
Yeah, that'll.
Diane might be in Oshkosh.
She does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, excellent.
Okay.
Might be there too.
Chuck's here. I see him on the screen.
Yeah, Jerry's out of
Yeah, I'm
town.
here.
If you guys were like talking, I don't know, I was across.
I think he said he was going to Michigan.
He was even off.
Diane went to New York after Oshkosh, so she might dial in from New York.
Recording in progress.
Audio. I don't hear the audio.
Hello?
That's better.
Okay, nothing's changed here, so I'm not sure what's going on.
Unless nobody was talking.
Yeah.
I saw someone's lips move, though.
Well, I was talking in a low voice. I just talked
It was
to
me.
Matt over here.
And I
So.
think I pushed this button.
Okay, it's 2 o'clock. Meeting will come to order of the Mojave Air and Spaceport Board of Directors, August 3rd, 2021. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
Stands
one nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty for all.
Let me make the phone real quick while I'm thinking about it. Roll call. Okay, roll call. Director Barney. Let's see, you're there. Director Deaver.
Here.
Director Morgan.
Here.
Director Coleman.
Here.
And Director Valentine here. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Oh, I had a motion by. Okay, I had a motion by Director Morgan, seconded by Director Deaver. Are there any questions on the agenda? All in favor?
Good call. Sorry.
Huh?
Are you doing roll call?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Director Barney's not here. Director Deaver?
Aye.
Director Morgan?
Aye.
Director Coleman?
Aye.
And Director Valentine? Aye. Agenda is approved. Community announcements. Members of the audience may make announcements regarding community events. Anyone out there would like to make a community announcement? None being. Next item is consent calendar. We have the minutes of the regular board meeting of July 20th this year and check register dated July 29th, 2021 for $149,593.81. Are there any questions on the consent calendar? Are you looking for a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Bill. Second?
I second.
Seconded by Director Morgan. Roll call, Director Deaver.
Aye.
Director Morgan.
Aye.
Director Coleman.
Aye.
and Director Ballantyne. Aye. Consent calendar is approved. We have no action items at this time, so we'll head to reports and financial reports. I think that's Carrie.
Yep, good afternoon. These are the financial reports for month ending June 30th, which is our year end. And as we are finishing up the year, the auditors are scheduled to start their field work next week. So we're providing them all their data this week, and they'll do the actual audit next week. They're going to be on site a couple days and then also just kind of do it remote just due to COVID. So we're uploading everything to them. The bank balance increased to $144,000. Operating revenue for the year, the budget to actuals, we're at 126%. For the operating expense, we're at 98%. For the year end fuel sales, we've sold 1.3 million gallons. On the AR report, Dragon Aviation did pay their balance in full. After we issued them the pay or quit, they did give us back one of the hangars. So that was available on Monday of this week. So we're currently trying to find a tenant for that hangar. And the gym is increasing members each month. They're at 474 members. Yep. Since they've opened up 24/7, they've actually been starting to get more members.
I know.
Yeah. That's all I got.
All right. Is there any questions out there for the financial report, Carrie? None being, next we have security reports. Chris?
Good afternoon, everyone. This update is for the period June 26th through July 25th. During that period of time, we conducted a total of 4,238 checks to include 1,118 key hanger checks, 2,463 building checks, and 657 gate checks. It was a quiet month for alarms. We responded to 25 building alarms on the airport. We found and secured 37 unlocked or unsecured doors on the property. We patrolled a total of 4,288 miles. Granted 111 access cards, airport arriving fleet again. We did have one requested support for law enforcement on July 22nd for trespassing. Unfortunately, in this case, a gate that is also controlled by a tenant was left unsecured, and due to that, we were unable to get any trespassing charges on the individual. And again, I'd like to remind everybody again about the Code Red mass notification system. Please register on our website. We'll get that up and going here soon. Yes, sir.
Could you clarify what you mean by unsecured gates?
The gate was closed and the chain was looped through the gate. However, the lock itself was not.
Is this a pedestrian or a road?
This was a vehicle gate in between two buildings, kind of off the beaten path.
Was it intentional or accidental?
At this time, I'm not able to tell. I've been talking to surrounding tenants, and at this point, everybody is denying leaving the gate unsecured. It's not one that's used very often, so.
All right. Any other questions from the board members out there for public? None being, next we'll go to Matt, I believe.
All right. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'd like to just stand up here and single out one of our guys in maintenance here. Come up here, Mike. Mike loves the limelight. As you may be aware, we had Mike's department lost about 75% of their workforce with two of the folks out due to COVID. And it's my understanding that there wasn't a single open item left unattended. You were able to work long hours, everything was really on time on the schedule. Is that all true?
And Chris, he was out there helping with me too, so I can't take all the credit.
Well, I'd like to give you some credit, some recognition. So what we're doing here is we're just recognizing folks that really step up to and really answer the call to service. So it's a small little card, it's an Amazon gift card for $25, but I sure appreciate their time and effort.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
I appreciate it.
All right.
And the board thanks you too.
Yeah.
Like your log.
Unless you want to. Oh, yeah.
Jason, if you could screen share the fuel sales and fuel pump. So what I'm starting to do here with the fuel department with Harold Smith, this is a work in progress, but what we're trying to grasp is what we're pumping in terms of fuel. So if you look at this fiscal year 2020 to 2021, we've got it broken down to our Jet A retail, government contract Jet A, contract, avgas, and our total Jet A pump. So if you think about Jet A retail, that'd be from the pump to National Test Pilot School, scale composites, bank cards. The F-18s, of course, would be the government fuels pumped. And then the contract fuels would be institutions like Strato and Virgin Orbit. And so what I'm trying to do is instill upon some of our folks there in fuels to really upsell and see where we can derive more revenues from pumping as much fuel, both Jet A and 100 low lead. If you look over to the right, Jason, if you can move the screens over to the right, you've got, or maybe get rid of the screen there.
Okay.
Jason, if you can go back to that. Okay, so there's a moving average I put in there. Both, it's a 13-month rolling average for avgas and Jet A, and though it's in the new young stages of this report, I'd like to report out every month as to see what we're doing and how we're doing with fuel pumping. Any questions about this work in progress?
I got a question. When you say you're encouraging staff to upsell, I understand that in the retail business, but how do you do that in the fuel business?
Yeah, it's really simple to do. The experiences I've had at an FBO is that, hey, can I put 100 on each side of your tanks? How's your flight going? Where are you guys going? Just a little bit of...
Ask for the sale.
Just a little bit of sale. Yeah, so it works amazingly well, and we might be rolling out at some point with Todd's agreement and concurrence. We'll start offering incentives to pump more gas. So if you buy a full tank of gas, then you get maybe a $25 Amazon gift card or something like that. We're still working on that. We can make about $1,000 on an F-18 when we fuel it up.
Candy bars.
Candy bars. Well, I'm thinking a little more nutritious, but I do like candy bars though. Yeah. So
those young kids love the Snickers.
So if there are no questions, we'll move on to the ATC report here. We will have, in effect, the LOA between the National Test Pilot School, and I mentioned this about a month and a half ago, where you can fly in a pattern at the airport without talking to the tower during the Class Delta operations, and that'll basically alleviate the workload, not only the tower, but also alleviate the workload of the student pilots. Todd's going to be signing off on that today, and effective immediately, the National Test Pilot School will be able to fly without communicating to the tower. A little more efficient. Okay. We are with the LOA, with Josh approach for the RNAV and GPS approaches. It's finalized, and I'm not sure when it will be published, but that is signed, sealed, and delivered, which will be a benefit for everybody here at the airport. Planning. This is from Floyd Van Way. The taxiway Charlie update. During the 11th, 12th, and 13th of this month, they'll be monitoring or confirming the smoothness of the taxiway Charlie, and if there are any bumps or anything that needs to be rectified. So that's the 11th, 12th, and 13th, anywhere in those days with the machine that calibrates the smoothness of the taxiway. Open items still, and it's a supply chain issue. The splash guards on taxiway Charlie have to be still installed. The directional boring under the taxiway to complete the electrical circuit of taxiway Charlie is still open. Again, it's a supply chain issue. We don't know when that'll be complete. And the last item is a lighted directional wind cone in the no man's land section, and that'll be right over here, a nice lighted directional wind cone. And
Like a tetrahedron type thing?
I don't believe so. It's probably going to be like a 15-knot crosswind sock.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
The survey and geotech work is complete. That works in conjunction, hand in glove, with the PCI, or the Pavement Condition Index. And what this allows us to do is really determine what the rating is. 0 to 100, 0 is failing, 100 is in good condition. We're going to take that data from the survey and geotech and the Pavement Condition Index and provide that to Mead and Hunt, and that'll allow us to really delve into runways here and future taxiway rehabs. The Airport Pavement Management System, the APMS, was last updated in 2012, and that'll be finalized by the end of August. And that will help prognosticate 5 to 10 years of how well your taxiway and runways will behave down the road. So that's more of a proactive than reactionary approach where we are today with the runway. And then, almost finished here, maintenance. Their department's been very busy. They've been working on water impairment. The water impairment, we had a couple lines break between Kennecut Road on hangars 155 and 150. 150 is without water, but they're supplying water for them. And the other break was at Building 87. It's not affecting any other building, and Building 87 uses that for storage. And the oleanders, the dead oleanders, will be removed along Bellshaw Parkway, and we'll be watering manually all oleanders until the irrigation project is complete. So we're going to try to save those oleanders from drying out too much there.
Some of those may come back. I've had some experience with that.
Okay.
But you have to water them to find out.
All right.
A good example, when we transplanted the ones on the flight systems going into the new tower, we pulled them up and we put them around the park, entrance park on Bellshaw.
Right.
And they looked pretty bad the first year, but the majority of them made it. So I wouldn't necessarily get into a big rush, but obviously they look like hell and need to be addressed.
So are you saying that if they look totally dead, they still might have a chance of coming back?
Well, I know there were some there that were dead.
Okay.
And that because of 2 years worth of no green. But a lot of them, it's just been, 3 or 4 months of basically lack of water. And I don't think the root system has died, but the vegetation looks like it. So,
okay.
I mean, I wouldn't get in a big hurry because that's a lot of work, time, and expense.
Right.
I think get the water back on, maybe give it to the end of the year. You might see some new growth because they'll stay green year round.
Okay.
And then maybe make your call.
Okay.
I don't want to tell you what to do, but
no, that's fine. Christian Chavez is actually on right now. So, Christian, did you hear that? I'm sure you did. So I'll here he goes.
A plan for the valve system in the water, and so we'll go from there.
So he copies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's getting the water back on them.
Sure.
And adequately. They're tough. I've seen those in certain areas, and I don't know where to get their water. I mean, fly with no water, but these obviously have.
Yeah.
So with that said, we're going to go.
That's why Cal puts them along the highways, because they're sturdy, they're rugged.
Yeah.
Right. And on the heels of that note, we are in talks with 2 landscaping companies that will do a better job. We put our current contractor on notice for 30 days. You'll see some improvements and enhancements with whatever bid we approve. Lights for GA hangars have arrived. They're going to commence installation starting in mid-August. The GA hangars and lighting. The weed abatement between the hangars is ongoing today. Mailboxes have been, the delivery of the boxes has been pushed back due to COVID. The new ETA is the end of August. Keys will be available for release after installation. And 8 and 2/6 restriping is complete. And
Boxes are going to be strictly for U.S. Postal Service, or can other delivery guys use the drop box? Do you know?
I mean, I can only speak my own experiences, and that is, I'll have FedEx and Amazon and everybody else will put packages in my mailbox. So I'm assuming this will work the same way.
These won't be accessible. These will be locked.
They will be locked.
Well, they have
But I guess they'll have a key. They'll have a key as well. I don't know, how's Amazon getting my own mailbox?
They don't. Well, usually other delivery services don't put things in your mailbox because that's considered federal property, and
I can
only
see that
you
too,
and
yeah.
the post office can use that box, supposedly.
We'll look into that.
But if it's not
confirm it.
designated as a U.S. Postal Service thing,
I think it is.
This is a U.S. Postal Service thing, though. It will be.
The postal UPS is working with the Postal Service to try to get official permission to do that. In fact, I think there's a bill going through Congress on that.
Okay.
yeah. Well, one thought is we don't make it an official U.S. postal. You just say it's like we have the ones we have now. The FedEx guy leaves me postcards that say I couldn't deliver,
That's a thought. We'll look into that. Part of what we're trying to do is, in addition to the Postal Service having a place to put their stuff in the post office box or postal boxes, also trying to, that's why we put up the call box down there so people like FedEx
that hopefully will take
can get in.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at right now is trying to have that coordination with the FedExes and UPSs to let them know when you have a package here, this is how you go up and push the button. This is how it works.
Yeah.
So that's the next step in that. But one way or the other, we'll make sure you get your packages. That's definitely an issue. It's frustrating.
It's definitely not a perfect science. It's
No, I had a discussion with the FedEx driver today. In fact,
Really?
yeah, it's been delivered to me again, like twice in the last couple of weeks. And he's been calling some number that doesn't work, that Amazon, I don't need to get into it with that. But I said, well, UPS guy has a gate card. Why don't you go get a gate card by security? Because he said that UPS could because they are tenants, and he couldn't because he's from Palmdale.
No.
But I don't think that's right.
Yeah, that's not.
Probably
So this is going to solve all that.
he seemed to be making excuses.
yeah.
Part of the problem is not us,
That's right.
It's kind of like you have to make it so convenient for the driver that he doesn't have any more excuses, I think.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
They didn't just start over the fence.
that might even be okay.
I've had that happen.
I mean, at least it's in a secure area. Other side of the fence.
So last update to the maintenance. We can't get the funding for the taxi, general aviation taxiway rehab. And so as a stopgap, we will be patching starting next Tuesday, cold patch asphalt on those major gaps there. So we're going to start effective Tuesday. It'll be a quick remediation, but it's not an end all, but it's going to make things a lot better. So stay tuned for enhanced, smaller gaps as you taxi your tail dragger and tricycle gear. Okay, almost.
Was there any, excuse me, Mayor.
Yep.
Was there any feedback? We were doing some engineering work to evaluate what caused that. There's all kinds of rumors about Stewart spreading sulfur on the ground. I don't know, just crazy things.
The geotechnical report, the survey and geotechnical work was done within the last week, and we will get a report from that within the next 2 weeks.
All right.
So once we get that information, that will tell us more.
I mean, you're going to use that to inform you the best way to put a cold patch in or whatever, what kind, or...
Well,
I realize it's temporary, maybe, but it may be a long-term temporary, who knows. But previous attempts were miserably inadequate. Like, I don't know why. I don't know, is it the technique or what? And so I just thought, whatever, is it due to, moisture? Is it due to heat? And so some of that might inform, like, what's the best time of year? How much do you need to pack it?
Right. Now, I've heard rumors abound. This, like Director Linder said, General Manager, CEO, Todd expressed that we really don't know what the gold standard of information and fact will be once we receive this report.
Yeah.
But I think one reason why there's such enormous gaps now is that the asphalt is basically, it's not converging, it's diverging. And the patches that they put in have simply not enough much matter and fill to keep those gaps.
So before they patched it, they looked just like they look now.
Mhm.
So it's almost as if, and it's hard to imagine this is even possible, that the patch bridged over the top, it didn't fill the gap at all.
Yeah.
So you would think it would just drip in the hole, but because it was like within not even a month, it looked exactly like it did before the patch. So I'm like, how did that? So I don't know if it's a vendor issue or a technique.
Well, the county has the same problem. If you look at Belshaw Street, they fill those, put desert mix in those, pad those holes, and 2 weeks later, there's a hole again.
Yeah, but there's a lot of traffic bouncing over that usually rips it out. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, and then moving on, if there are no questions, we'll move on to ARF. I'd like to have Chief Damon Farrar stand up and introduce himself to any of the board members he's not met yet.
Good afternoon. I'm Damon Farrar. I'm the ARF chief of State Soldiers. I'm here on protest of providing service. And we're still providing the same service. We should be relatively transparent. Okay, if anything, hopefully we can find better service. Okay.
Excellent. And welcome.
Thank you, Chief. He's a nice guy and also the drill sergeant, too, in the Army, if I'm not mistaken. All right, and on the airport security plan update, we've identified in his good work, we've identified the fuels and hazardous. We had some folks from Santa Barbara Municipal Airport from security and operations make a site visit and provide us some of their best practices. So we got some good information from them. And as we speak today, last thing on my report are these enhanced vehicle signages, and these will be going on all the vehicles to better identify per the FAA guidelines. All vehicles are receiving enhanced signage.
Try and show what we got.
So they look pretty slick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
And that in my
Number on the feature on the roof.
yes. Yep. That's for the tower to identify the vehicles.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Matt. Thank you. I like that. Good report.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the directors out there, Bill or Chuck?
Nope.
Negative.
All right. All right. None being next, CEO General Manager's report. Todd?
Chair, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity. That's good. We're good. So first thing on the list, the American Rescue Plan Act 2021 has an element associated with it. It's the Airport Rescue Grant Program. We've been informed by the federal government that we're entitled to $32,000, which Ms. Carrie Rawlings is generating that paperwork at this time, and that will be completed in the not too distant future if it has not been done already. We have until the end of August to submit the paperwork. I want to get that and go ahead and get it in while everybody's in a giving mood. GA pavement rehabilitation, as Matt alluded to, waiting on the geotech results. GA hangar improvements, the weeding is going on. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is some examples of the weeding that's taken place and some of the stuff that's done up between the hangars. One of the things we were brought to light about earlier today was the fact that we had an email sent to all the general aviation tenants letting them know that we were going to be doing this, and if they would, please move or relocate their stuff so we could get in and spray and clean things up. And unfortunately, we found that there was one tenant in particular that did not receive word, and he was a little upset. I think we've rectified that situation. Go ahead and go to the next slide. As Matt talked about, this is the new lights. They're 14 by 9 by 7.5 inches deep. Next slide, please. The green hangars are the hangars that are under ownership of Mojave Air and Spaceport. The red dots, so red rectangles are the lights and how they're going to be angled or where they're going to be positioned. Hopefully this will assist with nighttime and evening operations while you're conducting operations down in the general aviation area. Maybe make it less spooky down there at night. Next slide, please. As we said, The mailboxes are about 2 to 3 weeks out, looks like. But it's a issue we're waiting on the supply chain. Next slide, please. So I don't know if you all remember this. So we've been working very closely with a developer in particular to provide additional GA hangars down in the general aviation area. One contractor or one developer in particular we're working with has verbally agreed to add some general aviation hangars and if we would allow him to develop that 9.8 acres of solar in that part of the airport. He would use about 15% of that solar 10 to 15% to provide the electricity necessary to power the general aviation area of Mojave Air and Spaceport and the ball field. So we have another meeting. Actually, it's probably our last final meeting to develop the terms of the lease on this Friday. And hopefully after that, we will have something in writing that provides him access and lets him develop the new general aviation hangars and some more solar power. Next slide, please. So I know this is rather busy, and I would not expect you to understand what this is trying to tell you. So we're working with another developer, Pegasus Corporation, is going to be doing some design and construction work for a potential tenant in one of the areas outlined in red there. That particular tenant would have really preferred to be on the east side of runway 1230. However, there was no utilities over there. So the developer that we're working with has offered to implement or install the utilities to the east side of the airfield in exchange for us giving him development rights on the east side of the airfield and providing him some level of lease or rent abatement on the area that he leases on the west side of the runway. This is something that we can talk about going forward. You know, this is right now an idea, and this is what we're working toward. I wanted to make sure it was brought to y'all's attention. No decisions to be made today. It's something we can discuss. I don't know one of the things I have yet to find out, have not determined, can we even legally do something like this? I don't know. So before we really get into the conversations, that would have to be determined. But in order to get utilities on the east side and allow for development, I don't think it doesn't sound like a bad idea. I'm in the middle of running the numbers right now to see what the financials look like if we do that. So more to follow, but we are moving ahead with some additional development in that portion of the airfield. Next slide, please. In addition to that, we're also in conversations with Bragg Crane. They would like to lease that 25 acres that is immediately off the terminus of taxiway Bravo, and also possibly lease that 17 3/4 acres down there toward the front of the airfield, or have an option on it.
Where's the 17 at?
South and...
Oh, I got you. Yeah, gotcha.
That is really good. It's really a good parcel of property. It would not be my first choice to lease it to a crane company. However, the lease that they're talking about doing is I think a 3 to 4 year lease. And considering that the conversations I've had, especially here recently, have not yielded anything in that area, I would not be opposed to leasing it to them. And the board, again, we can have more discussions with the board to if there's any issues as it relates to that.
And what do they plan on putting on the property?
They're going to store those 70-foot propeller blades, turbine blades.
They did in the past do that over where the 26.9 acres are. It's something they did in the past.
Right.
Bill, you had a question?
Yeah, well, you just answered it.
Okay.
Very good. Next slide. Okay, the runway 1230 rehabilitation project. FAA has described the availability of funding this year as bleak. We will know formally by September 7th. In the meantime, there is a possibility that they are going to obtain fallout money. Fallout money is money that FAA has programmed to a project for a given airport, and that airport has determined or found that they cannot come up with a match, or they've just decided they don't want to do the project. Therefore, the money goes back to FAA, and the FAA has that money to distribute at their discretion, hence the term discretionary funds. So FAA has told us, there's a very, very good chance, even with fallout money, we're not going to obtain enough money to do the runway 1230 project this year. However, it is very possible, very good potential, strong possibility that enough funding will be available to go ahead and move forward with the rehabilitation of the general aviation area pavement. We're talking about the difference between, probably a $3 million project versus a $15 million project. So, $3 million comes, if they have $3 million they can put their hands on, we would use that money for the general aviation pavement rehabilitation.
Are they in agreement to do that? I know in the past that was kind of an area where FAA didn't do it, the GA areas.
Really?
They would do the taxiways, runways, but when it came to a GA area like that, it's new to me. I don't know.
We didn't receive any pushback from them. They were, the only question that they had, and they wanted to confirm, is that pavement down there was not exclusively leased to anyone.
Okay.
And that was
general taxiway, essentially.
Yeah, that'd be so great if they was, man.
So that's good news and bad news. So we'll see what happens going forward. We'll continue pursuing the funds. We're finishing a airspace letter of agreement with the folks at FAA for the approaches, as Mr. Matt alluded to. We've got that signed off on. We should be getting the final draft or the final signed copies back from FAA anytime, and it will be moving to publication probably within 90 days after that. IT standards, policies, and protocol. One of the things that I've been discussing with Mr. Jason Buck is the need for specific protocol, policies, things of that nature internal that will assist with preventing us from being opened up for, a lot of the bad things that happen online. Y'all are aware of those. So he has prepared some documents. This is going to be a policy issue. So once this is completed, I'll be bringing it to y'all's attention for review, and y'all can vote on to accept it or deny or decline or modify, however you see fit. The Calspan Trisonic Wind Tunnel project, we submitted an RFI, or we responded to the RFI by Calspan. They evidently really liked what we submitted to them, so they have asked us to now move forward with a move into the formal proposal portion of the selection process. They're coming to town on August 16th and 17th for meetings with us as well as our tenants to determine how much use that they can get, or how much capacity of that wind tunnel can be fulfilled. Also working with folks at Scale Composites to complete a airspace letter of agreement and a certificate of authorization around COA for operations of a UAS system that's going to be here. They're going to try to fly within the next year, is my understanding. The aircraft display, we are currently working with the folks at the Aviation Transportation Museum, and It just so happens the entity that heads up the museum is also the entity that owns the 2 aircraft that we would like to display in the Stu Witt Center. And as it turns out, there is an event that takes place every year with aircraft, I guess radio-controlled aircraft in the Stu Witt Center. And the entity who heads up the museum and also owns both aircraft wants to confirm that the aircraft will not be too low, or there'll be enough airspace, if you will, available to conduct that operation annually.
Or you take it down.
Well, we could get a tower operator in there to.
True. Exactly. No, they're not that heavy, and they're small enough where I think they're going to have plenty of clearance to do what they want to do. But that is what's...
They kind of fill the airspace inside that hangar when they're flying. It would definitely...
Oh, the RC?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could make it a much less desirable place. But yeah, I think the best, if the
long easies were at the ends, for instance, that'd be better than if they was in the middle.
Good point. The structural engineers have come back with their reports, and they have indicated that the structure itself will have absolutely no problem holding 2 aircraft.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, I agree with Bob, and I never even thought about it. That was my vision, as you have them towards the wide door end, the west end. Just to keep that a free space for.
Yeah.
Don't split it in half, in other words.
No, right, exactly. I agree.
Kind of out of the way, but display.
Yeah.
Definitely. That concludes my report. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions anyone might have.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Todd. Bob or Bill, did you have any questions for Todd?
Nope. Good job.
All right. I meant to say Chuck, sorry.
Negative from Chuck.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Todd. We have no board committees, board of directors, comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for board members to comment on items not on the agenda.
I have an announcement. Beginning the middle of this month, there's a new Starbucks going in at the old French Cafe across from the Texaco station at Shasta and Sierra Highway. They're going to begin construction.
All right.
Expensive coffee.
And I just want to say the ball field looks like it's doing well. It's well maintained, and I'm seeing plenty of green coming back. So, thank you, maintenance. Okay, public comments on items not on the agenda. A member of the public may make comments to the board on items not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments? Allison, it's good to see you attending. All right, none being, we'll move into closed session. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And I believe any of you that want to